Annoying anime tropes or cliches. So what's up guys, Foxen here. Today let me go ahead and share these, and I know at least one of these will be a hot take for you. So definitely smash that like to make the YouTube overlords happy, and do let me know if you agree. And a special thank you to this week's sponsor, World Flipper. This long-awaited hit game from Japan is coming out globally. It is a nostalgic pinball game with the Japan's touch of an action RPG game, which involves skills, glowing characters, co-op boss raids, and more. You should be hyped for side games focused on the characters, which includes their own individual story and lore. Their gorgeous character designs, each character is going to have their own story arc, and there's already over 100 characters waiting for you. Being a newcomer to this, the game is pretty easy to start for a first-time pinball player, and whether you're a solo player or someone that likes to play with friends in co-op boss battles, there's a lot for you to enjoy. So go ahead and click down below to pre-register today. The game actually is coming out soon, and of course as always you're supporting the channel. By pre-registering now you're gonna get a few goodies, and some currency to kick off your adventure. It is free for you to play, so click down below. Kicking this off, the overpowered generic main character, Isekai Edition. I know you're familiar with this one, especially with this summer anime season where we have like 10 isekai anime splooshing all over us. You know the main character, he looks super generic, and after getting a date with Truck-kun, the guy gets this overpowered ability. Character-wise and personality-wise, after that there's not too much to it. And yet despite that, you do have the guy collecting chicks just like Pokemon. You could definitely let me know which is the worst offender for you for this. One that stands out for me is Isekai Cheat Magician. Thankfully, we have gotten enough Isekai anime, where you do have some awesome shows that clearly shows it is possible to have this overpowered main character, and still have this interesting story and character. Another anime where you had this potato of a protagonist for me was Princess Connect. Like come on, just get rid of this character and this anime could hit hard. The random big boobed onesan. You know what I'm talking about. At this point I feel like it's become quite a staple for anime. There's always that one female in the group that's beyond supersized thick. And don't get me wrong, I do love my thick characters, and I've been watching anime for so long that I think I just gotten used to it, but even I still have my limits. Like one that would have been way too much for me years ago would have been the dragon from Dragon Maid. And no, I'm not talking about Toru. But then this season, you have the one that is, oh my lord. Like my brain just stops working when she gets on screen. I love Dragon Maid, so thankfully I am able to look past this. So definitely let me know if this is an issue for you. Bonus if it's supposed to be a high school or junior high character. Like Aqua Forgive if this is supposed to be an elementary school kid. And I will be fair to mention the exception, which is really any ecchi or really hardcore fanservice anime, where it's clearly the point. When that comes around, it'd be silly for anyone to complain. Here's a fun one, over-explaining, which really seems to be the bread and butter for a lot of shonen anime. Whether it's your secret move, your plan, oh, how about let me just tell you my weakness. Extra points if it's actually the enemy telling you during the battle. And yes, sometimes you do get a pass with the main character or villain getting overly cocky, being way too overconfident. And trust me, there are ways to do it without spilling your juices. For long-term veteran anime fans, you may instantly think of Boruto's dad. One of the worst offenders that does stand out for my mind is actually My Hero Academia. You know the scene where Deku's phone breaks in battle, which is then followed by that explanation that since the phone is broken, he can't make a call. Like come on bro, we're not stupid. On the flip side to this, to be fair, I do think a lot of this stuff works better in the manga. And I have noticed anime studios, and by extension directors, being a lot better about this in recent anime. Although sometimes you do have the anime going to the extreme, where don't worry about explaining anything. All of these anime fans already read the light novel. Right. Too many flashbacks, which really goes hand in hand with the previous one. Once again, sorry to pick on you, but Naruto! By far one of the most infamous offenders for this. Does anyone recall the time that they actually did a couple of flashbacks within a flashback? Often when you have so many flashbacks in an anime episode, it really feels like the show is holding your hand. Although let's be real for why they're doing it, really just to take up some episode time. I know I'm gonna get crap for it if I don't mention One Piece in this. As an extension to this, bonus points if you have a flashback right before the villain is about to die. Demon Slayer anyone? There really should be much better ways of getting this across in the story, other than right before the bad guy's final moments. And do let me know which anime you think is the worst offender for so many flashbacks. Next up, By the Power of Friendship. I know you're gonna say Jerry just hates battle shonen anime, although this is actually more widespread. Possibly one of the most infamous anime for the friendship talk. It's your turn, Fairy Tail comes to mind. And with shonen anime as popular as ever, this isn't gonna go away anytime soon. I was actually trying to think of some examples of anime that done this well, and it really just feels like it comes down to not spamming the friendship talk. I need to protect my friends, and so on. Like, cool dude, we get it. Just turn it down a notch. For the obvious exception to this, I will mention shonen anime aimed at young kids, whether it's something like Pokemon, Digimon, and most magical girl anime. At that point, it's really just a given, the secret sauce. Next up, random as fan service. And by this, I do mean the sticky, ecchi kind. Much like for a lot of these things, being a veteran anime fan, I do think I've grown a tolerance for this. And let's admit it, fan service by itself is not bad. It really just depends on the tone of the show. Like you wouldn't want to see Eren and Mikasa fighting titans, and then they flash her pantsu underneath. One of the worst offenders that comes to mind for me is actually Fire Force, as much as I like that series, where you literally have the enemy stopping mid-battle or mid-event just to have this freaking fanservice scene. Or I don't know, can you even call this fanservice? Whatever the little boy in 7 Deadly Sins does. For this one, bonus points if you actually have the male character and then falling and feeling the girl's chest. Then again, you did have that time that it actually happened in real life. An extension to this would be the random perverted character. For current ongoing anime, you do have Great Boy. I think this guy is self-explanatory. Although one that actually makes my skin crawl is actually thinking back to Jiraiya looking at like, what, 12-year-old Naruto in girl mode? Like dude, no matter the gender for Naruto here, this is just creepy AF. The Talk no Jutsu. I swear I'm not trying to pick on Naruto, but this orange ninja is the one that made this one super infamous. One of his most overpowered moves in shonen history. And actually, perhaps thanks to Naruto, it became such a meme, such a well-known concept, that current manga and anime writers are very familiar with the issue and actually actively trying to avoid it. Much like the power of friendship stuff, I do think this has been reduced heavily in recent years. Although you can let me know, I have not checked out the new Boruto series. The random isekai harem. Oh yes, this is getting its own section. And definitely share your thoughts. Maybe it's just me, but I just don't see the appeal in this at all. You know the setup, for a lot of these bottom tier isekai anime, you have girls just fawning over the main character. They're instantly attracted to the guy without the guy doing almost anything. Like hey, they want to get the main character's tiny butterfinger. My issue with this here is that a lot of the times this is a girl's only defining trait. One of the worst offenders feels like each new girl added to the harem is dumber and more brain dead than the last. I swear the last girl might as have well just been a blow-up doll. I'm only really happy to say that thanks to the villainous isekai, you could actually see a great example of a harem done in isekai. Oh yes, Bakarina is definitely gonna charm even you. Next up, unfunny jokes, specifically manga ones. I'm not sure what better way to put this. A really good example for me that comes to mind is Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, where you do have some random gags that just stomp the anime. As much as I love Fullmetal Alchemist, this is one of the things that always stood out. But then I read the manga and realized that this stuff actually worked there. The real issue comes when you don't do anything to translate it into the anime form. Which is why you have these supposed gags that really just feel forced or are awkward to watch. For a more recent offender, I do feel some of these gags were in the recent reboot for Fruits Basket. Dream sequences. What ifs? So confession time, I think it was like the first episode of One Punch Man that started with this dream-like sequence. You had One Punch Man finally getting a challenge and everything turning into this wasteland. Of course, by the end of the episode, you found out that none of this happened. You can let me know if this bugs you too, but for me it really just left this horrible taste. And it depends on how you do it, but this time it felt super cheap. And at the end of the day, it really just depends on execution. If one of these things is done really well, it actually stops being a cliche or a trope. So definitely let me know, did you find these annoying too? But Jerry, I could hear you. You missed this trope or this annoying cliche? So if there's any I missed, post it down below. As always, I will be reading your comments, and sometimes I like them if they're funny or they make me smile. Do smash a like if you want me to do the opposite video, anime tropes or cliches that aren't awful. But anyway, I do apologize for getting this out later than expected. Definitely go check out which fall anime I'm hyped for. Right now it's looking like fall anime season is so packed. Don't forget to subscribe, ring the bell, and I'll see you guys later.